Hello. For this Wednesday's CPD session, we're going to think about the idea that we can only attend to a few things at once. Now, as teachers, we often feel like we can and we should multitask, and we are quite adept at juggling a wide variety of very, very complex tasks. However, cognitive science has proven that multitasking is a myth. Nobody can do it. It's not actually possible to be doing multiple things at once. What we can do is we can become very skilled at quickly task switching, jumping from one task to another. Um, that's quite impressive skill, but for the process of learning and from the point of view of our students, it comes at a cost. So the idea of jumping from one thing to another is going to have a cost when it comes to learning and making changes to the long-term memory of our students. And that cost is in the red box here. It's this idea of cognitive load theory. Learning becomes much more difficult to do if we begin to clutter the learning experience with material that is unnecessary or information that is distracting. So if we want to optimize learning, we want to reduce the extraneous load on the students in our classroom. And I've definitely fallen foul of this myself. This is a photograph here of von Braun, the German, should I say, Nazi rocket scientist. And I once taught a lesson that I thought was an absolutely cracking lesson on the Yalta Conference of 1945. But what I'd done is I had sidebarred into this thing called Operation Paperclip, which is where the American military kind of wandered around the recently defeated Nazi Germany and sort of hoovered up all the top scientists, took them back to the States, denazified them, and put them to work for NASA, which is kind of one of the reasons they got to the moon so quickly. And I thought this was a really interesting little aside to the end of the Second World War. But when I started to get the written answers in on an exam question on, explain two consequences of the Yalta Conference, what I got was lots of people who had latched onto this extraneous, interesting, but ultimately not particularly useful piece of information. They had latched onto something that was not, therefore, directly pertinent to the question that they were trying to answer. So for our point of view in wanting to maximize learning, what we need to do there is eliminate unnecessary tasks. And don't ask students to hold too many things in their heads at once. So, for example, perhaps if we want them to analyze a piece of text, maybe get them to read it first and then go back and do the analysis once they've done the initial job of reading it. Or have visual prompts available in the classroom for instructions so that students don't have to try and hold all of the instructions in their heads when they are trying to carry them out. And therefore, part of this is to identify and prioritize the 2 or 3 things from each learning episode, each lesson, that we want the students to think about. Remember that quotation that we've heard recently, that memory is the residue of thought. Well, if we identify the 2 or 3 things that we want students to be able to think about and therefore take away and retain in their long-term memories, then that is going to be really helpful. So eliminate the extraneous material, focus on the things, the golden nuggets that we want them to take away. That's going to help them to fix this material in their long-term memories. And ultimately, if we go back to this theory of schemata, then obviously it's a lot easier to assimilate these 2 or 3 new pieces of information if they are situated closely with things that students have already learned. So if we activate their prior knowledge, then we are going to do a better job of positioning these 2 or 3 new pieces of information into student memory. Hopefully that's been useful and not overly long with me rambling on. Have a good day, and any questions, please feel free to ask. All right, take care. Bye bye.